Welcome back to the Burn. I am Ryan Van Deeber, and we are presented to you by Hot Zone Sports. The information that you need to know built with you in mind, for the people, by the people, and with the people. Join the Hot Zone Sports community today. Remember, our show is wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. So if you could rate and review us, we would really appreciate that. If you're watching on YouTube, first off, congratulations, you found me. Secondly, subscribe to the show. And then hit that notification button so you'll always know when our content drops. Make sure you like the videos, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And wherever you like the social media, we are there. You can find us at Hot Zone Sports. Just look for the logo. It's right behind me. On this episode, we are going to be getting into the 49ers and Rams slugfest. Is that what we're calling it? And then we are also going to be jumping right into, are the Chiefs good or are they lucky? I know a lot of fans are saying that they're lucky, but we're going to dive into everything Chiefs on that segment. And then we are going to dive right in to the MLB Winter Meetings. What happened? There was news from the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Brooklyn Bombers. And then we will wrap up the episode going over Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. They are both hot topics when it comes to the college football. All right, on both sides of the fence, you can say Ashton Jeanty for Heisman. On the other side of the fence, you can say Travis Hunter for the Heisman. They both make valid cases, so we're going to dive right into that. So that is what we have on the docket for today's episode, and as you can see, it is just me, ya boy, the big dog, Ryan Van Deever for this episode. So let's go ahead and hit it. The 49ers and the Rams. Wow. So the most the 49ers were trying to do this in this game was just to stay alive. Stay alive in the playoff hunt. Stay alive in the standings. They were looking to just stay alive because after their last win over the Bears, 38-13, they were looking pretty good. And many would have said that they could make a run. But this was just an ugly, ugly game. Yeah, it was an old school, rainy NFC West contest, but ugly, still the same. Joshua Purdy was the hero of this game. Who was that exactly? Let's dive right into that for a second. Joshua Purdy is the kicker for the Rams. He not only kicked one, not two, not three, but 4 field goals to get the Rams to surmise defeat of the 49ers 12-6. Had a bit of a baseball score in this game. Imagine if the 49ers could have made a run to a playoffs. But now, with that loss, they have less than a 1% chance to make the playoffs. Yeah, not going to happen. But if you're wondering, if there was another game where not a single touchdown was scored this season, yeah, you're not going to find it. This is the only game where a touchdown wasn't scored. Wow. But now the Rams move within a half game of the Geno Smith-led Seattle Seahawks lead the division. Man, the Rams were down this season, but they are definitely up. Now, if there is one thing that you can say about the Los Angeles Rams, it is the fact that when they have injuries, whether it's to their wide receivers, their tight ends, running backs, whatever it may be, when they have injuries, they are not a very good team. We saw that early in the season. But when they're fully healthy, like they are now, and they have Puka Nacua in their lineup and Kyron Williams running the rock, you have a very dangerous team here. Like, damn, didn't they just come out of the woodworks? Like, out of nowhere. Just wild. The 49ers are now 6-8 on the season. They had the lead in this game going into the fourth quarter. But imagine if they won this game. Then, what would we say? Nothing. Probably nothing because it was that ugly. Don't imagine. Just don't. Back to focus. Focus. Movies, they get the best of you at times. But seriously, the 49ers are 6-8 and will finish the season with the Dolphins, Lions, and Cardinals all losable games. Yes, I said losable. Currently, they hold the number 13 pick, but could easily climb to the number 10 or earlier than that. So do you go ahead and do the Dallas Cowboys thing and roll off a couple of wins, make your fan base excited for no reason whatsoever, and your draft pick gets worse? Or do you just say, screw it, we're done with the season and we're not going to get into the playoffs? There's no point, and just get a top 10 pick. I would go with the latter. Like, there is no point. And let's just say you beat the Dolphins and the Lions, right? Then you got the Cardinals up. Say you beat them. This is all hypothetical, of course. I don't think anybody's beating the Lions at this point in the season. They are just a damn strong team, and they have one of the best cohesive units in all of the NFL. But back on task. Let's just say you drum off 3 wins and you end up being 9-8 on the season and just missing out on the playoffs. And now, no longer do you have the number 13 pick in the draft. You're more like in the mid-20s. So yeah, there's no point in trying to improve your record at this point. If you are the 49ers, just suck it up and realize that you suck. You sucked this season, and go into the draft, drafting more players, improving your team, and pick up where you left off. And hopefully be a better team next season, because this Super Bowl hangover did not help anyone. But in the 49ers' defense, there were more injuries on this team than I've seen in a long time. Every single week, it was like a new injury, not to mention Christian McCaffrey, their bell cow, has been missing most of the season. So you kind of had to figure, as a 49ers fan, what you're going into when the season began. But let's go ahead and move on to Brock Purdy. He did not have the greatest game last night, all right? Going 14 of 31 for 142 yards and a costly interception. And he was sacked 3 times. And let's just go with the interception. A passer rating under 50. That is not going to win you many games when your quarterback has a passer rating under 50. Purdy's biggest mistake came on a 2nd and 10 situation while the 49ers trailed 9-6 with 5 minutes and 20 seconds remaining in regulation. Purdy took a chance with a deep shot for Juan Jennings. The pass was overthrown, and Rams quarterback Darius Williams secured the interception in the end zone, and what was probably the easiest interception of his career. The ball was easily overthrown by 5 yards, maybe more. But Mr. Irrelevant, also known as Brock Purdy, has been known for his decision-making ever since he came into the NFL. That is one thing that you could say he has excelled at. But so far this season, he has not excelled in his decision-making and is looking like one of the NFL West's worst quarterbacks. It is just wild to see this type of downfall of a Super Bowl runner-up last season to now a 6-8 team that just can't get out of their way and make the worst mistakes at the worst time. There's really not much else you can say about this. But something else that I found interesting, that I thought about today, was Sam Darnold, who is the quarterback of the Vikings, in case you didn't know, is having one heck of a season. He was on the 49ers roster last season. So do you pay Brock Purdy, or do you go out and do a 1-year deal with Sam Darnold? It's probably a question I wouldn't have asked myself last season, but this season has been quite different in many regards. A massively disappointing season. So do you stick with Brock Purdy, or do you go in a different direction? Because if you stick with Brock Purdy, you're going to have to pay him. The 49ers behind the scenes know what they're going to do. But in this game, Purdy was less than impressive again. And he's not a guy that is going to move the needle very well. But unlike most of the football world, I was never a Purdy train, choo-choo type of guy. He doesn't have great arm talent. He doesn't have great scramble ability. He just makes the right decisions. That's what got him the job. It wasn't great arm talent. Just something to chew on. But usually within a story, there's another story that is always ever-evolving. And last night, we had an ever-evolving story that just had the football world awestruck, including me. San Francisco 49ers linebacker Devondre Campbell. Yeah, we're going there. He left the sidelines during his team's season-crushing loss to the Rams on Thursday night, and an apparent refusal to play that earned scorn from his teammates and jeopardized his spot on his team. The veteran had been bumped up from the starting lineup with the return of the previously injured Dre Greenlaw, but Greenlaw needed to come out of the game in the third quarter, and Campbell declined to play, according to 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan. He just didn't want to play today, Shanahan told reporters after the game. I don't know what type of personality you have to particularly have to make this decision and walk off the field, but I digress. Shanahan said Friday on a conference call with reporters that Campbell will no longer be a member of the team. Not surprising when a member of your team decides to quit on said team. I would have been shocked to see him still be a member on the defensive unit after you basically took your ball and went home. It was a metaphorical ball, okay? Not a real one. NFL teams put up with a lot, but quitting in the middle of a game is on the short list of things that will typically be unforgivable. Leaving your team in the third quarter is not going to further your career or your cause by any means. If anything, it's going to make it hard for another team to take a flyer on you. What comes next for Campbell and the 49ers is going to be unclear. He could be suspended. He could be cut. The Baltimore Ravens suspended receiver Deontay Johnson for a Week 14 game after he refused to enter the game the week before. If the 49ers released Campbell, he'd be a free agent with another team over the rest of the season. He'd be free to sign with another team over the rest of the season. Teams will sometimes help a player sign with another team, but in this type of situation, I don't think the 49ers are going to help him do squat. Campbell was essentially benched Thursday with the return of Dre Greenlaw to the lineup. This might have been the reason why he walked off the field. But you still can't do it, right? When Dre Greenlaw was banged up in the second half, the team wanted Campbell to go in. That's when he refused and left. Many of Campbell's teammates criticized his actions after the game. Tight end George Kittle called it stupid and immature. There's no surprise that Campbell won't be back, though him returning to face his teammates after what happened Thursday night would be interesting and also would be Netflix worthy. Boy, to be a fly on that wall in that locker room, my goodness. In any case, the 49ers are 6-8, and they have 3 games left in the season, and we're going to see what ultimately comes out from this team. Are they going to win out? Are they going to win 1 out of their next 2? Because, the Dolphins aren't playing too great. The Cardinals, they're starting to, get a little bit better, so we're going to see how this is going to turn out. Next, are the Chiefs good or are they lucky? All right, so here at Hot Zone Sports, we need to address something. Okay, the Kansas City Chiefs, I think I can say, are the most hated NFL franchise as of right now. Are they lucky or are they just good? It's time to discuss this. After the Kansas City Chiefs had beaten the Raiders when Las Vegas fumbled away a chance to kick their winning field goal on the day after Thanksgiving, just about everyone wondered when the fortunes of the Super Bowl champions would take a turn for the worse. They won its 15th straight one-possession game on Sunday when kicker Matthew Wright, already kicking in place of two other injured kickers, banged a 31-yard field goal off the left upright and threw to give Kansas City another heart-stopping 19-17 victory over the Los Angeles Chargers. That kick in itself was ridiculously lucky. It was the Chiefs' sixth win this season, decided on the final play of the game. Maybe the Chiefs are a little bit of both, good and lucky. The Chiefs are 12-1, now have a 2-game lead over Buffalo, and the Bills lost a shootout of a game to the Rams, and it's hard to argue they have lucked their way into the number 1 seed in the playoff picture. But whether it was a toe tap out of bounds against the Ravens or 3 different kickers hitting game-winning field goals, the Chiefs have been operating on razor-thin margins throughout the season. But yes, every team experiences this. They have lucky plays. They get lucky plays throughout the season. And, for the Chiefs, it's happened pretty frequently. But don't mention the refs here. This is played out. Don't even mention the refs in the comments. I've heard it all season long. But are the Chiefs lucky? Yes. Every team is lucky. Plenty of teams have lucky moments in a game, like when a tackler whiffs on a tackle and the running back avoids him or just hurdles him and goes in for the touchdown. But you cannot deny that they are a good team as well. An obvious take here is that most games come down to the plays in the fourth quarter. But the Chiefs always make the right plays at the right time. The Chiefs are unflappable when it comes to games on the line. And that bodes well for the postseason when most games are decided in the fourth quarter. But in case you want some pushback, here's some pushback. The Chiefs have not been great offensively. Okay? And with all of these games that have been one-possession games going down to the wire, playoff football is different than the regular season. That is completely obvious. But as I said, they have struggled consistently in terms of their offense all season. And Sunday night was just another example. The Chiefs managed 3 scoring drives in the first half, including a pretty efficient one that ended with a touchdown throw to DeAndre Hopkins just before halftime to have a 13-0 lead. But the offense wasn't able to produce anything in the second half, and until it needed it the most, the Chiefs' way this season. But if there's one truth to the Chiefs' offense, they have struggled mightily at times. They have been one of the more underwhelming 12-1 teams in recent history, which is why they receive so much hate in the NFL community as to how they are 12-1 when it just seems they make the right plays at the right time. There's no arguing this without mentioning the refs, okay? There's no arguing this that the refs are on the Chiefs' payroll. And if that's your take, then I just don't want to hear it. Every team receives calls. Every team has flags called. It's part of the game, so just get over it. Getting back to the point here, the Chiefs do have help on the way in the form of Hollywood Brown. If you remember, he was injured in the preseason. I think it was his first or second play, actually. It was pretty damn wild. He is on a 1-year deal. But he required surgery after injuring his sternoclavicular joint. I think I said that right. On the first play of the preseason. But he has been officially cleared to practice. I think his first practice was today, actually. And I don't see him playing this weekend. But you'll have Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy, who has finally broken through that rookie wall at just the right time. And Hollywood Brown, as a defense, you'll have to pick your poison because you won't be able to cover them all, right? That's pretty obvious. It's not exactly a hot take. But Hollywood Brown is not going to play in this upcoming game against the Browns since he's more than likely just beginning to practice. But another thing that you should really consider with Hollywood Brown is the type of chemistry that he is going to have with Patrick Mahomes. Hasn't had a lot of time with him. Yeah, he had training camp and then, that one preseason game, so that's not really a lot of time. But when do I expect Hollywood Brown to play? I could see him playing against the Steelers on Christmas. That is more likely what the time frame will look like, and the time couldn't be any better. The offense needs to be revamped in order to get better production because they won't be able to beat the Bills in a 17-14 type of defensive battle, especially since the entire Kansas City pass defense, which has struggled to pressure Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert, the 2 sacks by Treshaun Wharton notwithstanding, but also has had trouble in coverage for several weeks. The offense is going to have to improve coming into the playoffs. Otherwise, they will be a one-and-done exit. And if they play the Bills in a rematch of sorts, the Bills are just far too explosive. We saw this when these two played a few weeks ago. So it's going to be interesting to see if this offense is improved with Hollywood Brown coming back. But as you saw in their last win against the Chargers, there is a kink in the armor, so to speak. And the Chiefs are no longer a top 3 defense, so you can't rely on that defense like you could last year, for example. Moving on to the MLB Winter Meetings. I know, MLB Winter Meetings. What could be so damn important about Major League Baseball? Well, I'll tell you, the Juan Soto contract. I'm going to start this off by saying the MLB annual meetings is just a giant flea market of a show every single year. Stuff like this happens. So this should come to no surprise. 15 years, $765 million contract the New York Mets handed to right fielder Juan Soto this past Sunday. Soto went 9.9 miles from the Yankees to the Mets. This has got to be the most ridiculous contract I've ever seen in baseball. Soto is 26 years old, and by the time his contract is over with, he is going to be 41. And more than likely won't be on this team. Not too many 41-year-old outfielders playing in Major League Baseball, just saying. I'm not saying he isn't a beast, but damn, my dude, $765 million. Over his 7 seasons with the Nationals, Padres, and Yankees, Soto has slashed a .285, .421, .532 with 201 home runs, 179 doubles, 592 RBIs, and 655 runs scored in 936 games. Now, Soto hit a career-high 41 home runs for the Yankees during the regular season this past season, while slashing a .288, .419, and .569 with 31 doubles, 4 triples, 109 RBI, and a career best 128 runs scored. He finished 3rd in MVP voting. He then took his game to another level in the postseason, slashing a .327, .469, and .633 with 4 homers in 14 games as the Yankees reached the World Series. We all know how that played out. But we all saw that World Series production, okay? He was literally all of the offense against the Dodgers, relying on Judge in the playoffs. Relying on Judge in the playoffs obviously is not going to end well. Well, that's what Aaron Judge's track record shows anyway. And after this deal, it basically sent the Yankees scrambling. Because they were everybody for sure thought he was going to go to the Phillies, or he was going to sign with the Yankees. And then the Mets were in the mix. But man, when the Mets go all out, they go all out. And they gave that dude, I know a guy my age shouldn't say this, but they gave him the bag. And then there's the Max Fried contract. Since Soto was off the market, the Yankees had to officially shoot their shot. And boy, did they. So, in case you haven't heard, I am here to give you this news because not everybody obsesses over moves like these. Yeah, I'm your guy, Max Fried. 8 years, $218 million. He will team with Garrett Cole for a ridiculous 1-2 punch in the Yankees rotation, something they obviously needed in the World Series. Fried didn't get that Soto $765 million, but he does end up with one of the most lucrative contracts in MLB history, especially if we isolated pitchers here. There are reportedly no opt-outs or deferred money, and there's a full no-trade clause. To put this contract into perspective, you had Yamamoto with the Dodgers. He signed a 12-year, $325 million contract. Garrett Cole, the Yankees, 9 years, $324 million. Steven Strasburg, 9 years, $245 million with the Nationals. And Max Fried, 8 years, $218 million with the Yankees. So, let's get it started. Max Fried is 30 years old. He's a 2-time All-Star. And over the last 5 seasons with the Braves, he has had an ERA of 2.81. And that's tops in the major leagues. So don't sweep this under the rug. This is a big deal. Do not glance over this. So here's the jig. You knew something huge was going to happen. You didn't exactly know what. But with the Yankees striking out on Soto, no pun intended, you knew something was going to happen. Because the Yankees were obviously embarrassed missing out on Soto. So there had to be a splash. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I tell this to my kids a lot. And boy, was there a reaction here. So the reaction here from the Yankees was, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, what do we do? What do we do? Ah! Snaps fingers. I got it. Sign Max Fried. That'll quiet the masses. Without Soto getting what he got from the Mets, Fried wouldn't have gotten this much. So Fried needs to give a little Juan Soto a ring and tell him, hey, thanks, boss. Yes, Fried would have gotten paid elsewhere, but not this much. No way. Not $218 million. Not without Juan Soto. As a Braves fan, I hate to see this player taken away. But if you're a Braves fan, then you have that World Series that you can hold on to that he helped bring to Atlanta. In a closeout game, Max Fried was brilliant against the vaunted, hated Houston Astros. For that, we will be always grateful, Max Fried. Salute to you. So, I'm glad he got paid, but man, that is an absurd amount of money. This is not real money. But the MLB does not have real money. They have what you call monopoly money. Baseball world money. It is different than what me and you do for a job, okay? It's just an entirely different scenario. There are a very select few amount of people that are going to make this type of money. So, interesting question here. Why did the Yankees give him 8 years, though? Right? And I said this on my Twitter. The money is one thing, but 8 years to a 30-year-old pitcher who has recent injury woes is quite the other. As I've already addressed, this was an absurd amount of money and could have been a bit of an overreaction from the Yankees. So he's 30 years old right now. It has been proven scientifically, not through me, but through science, and we all know what everybody thinks about science. But here's the thing, your athletic prime ends at the age of 32. So the guy is 30 years old, getting an 8-year contract. I don't know how well this is going to bode for the New York Yankees. But he's locked up until he's 38. And generally speaking, this is what would be considered bad business. This is what the Yankees are used to, right? But the MLB is all about the luxury tax. That is what everything boils down to. So, okay, the MLB has something called the AAV, right? The annual average value. So Fried's value is set at $27.2 million. To put this in perspective, he's right before Glass now. That is a horrible name for a pitcher because he is actually built of glass because he gets injured right before October. Glass only lasts so long under pressure. Just saying. The Dodgers obviously overpaid for Glass now. Yes, they overpay for everyone. Just saying, getting back on topic here. So, okay, let me explain this to you. If you're not familiar with the luxury tax in Major League Baseball, so basically what the Yankees did is they extended the contract to 8 years so that they would take less of a hit on the luxury tax, whether it was a great contract or it wasn't. That has no relevance to what the luxury tax is. No team wants to take huge hits because of being in the luxury tax, and that's what the Yankees did here. So in reality, what you are doing here as the Yankees organization, this is really just a 4-year contract, right? Max Fried is going to be, I hate to say washed up, but that's what he's going to be by the time he reaches 38 years old. Maybe even before then. We can't see the future. We don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I'd be a very, very, very rich man. But we do not know what type of injuries he's going to have. But say he does have some injuries and it affects his performance, this could easily end up being that it's a 4-year contract. You're basically moving numbers around so you don't get stuck in that luxury tax hell that many teams have been stuck in over the years. But there were many suitors for Max Fried, Red Sox being one, and they obviously missed out on him. So the Red Sox really wanted to bolster up their pitching staff with adding Max Fried into the mix, but I had a strong feeling that the Red Sox did not want to spend that much money on Max Fried, so congratulations, Yankees, for blocking the Red Sox from signing an ace. So the Red Sox had to regroup. The Red Sox needed another ace, and well, wouldn't you know, they got one. Who did they get, you ask? Well, they got Garrett Crochet. For many of you, you may not know who this is. So let's give you some information because that is what we do here. The Red Sox sent catcher Kyle Till, which was the Red Sox number 4 prospect, outfielder Braden Montgomery, the 5th best, infielder Chase Mydroth, number 11, and Wikelman Gonzalez, the number 14, to the White Sox in a 5-player deal. Teal was ranked as baseball's 25th best prospect according to the MLB pipeline, while Montgomery is ranked 54th. Now, Crochet was 6-12 with a 3.58 ERA and 32 starts for the White Sox. Yes, the White Sox, the worst team in baseball last season. They went 41 and 121, the most losses for any club since the year 1900. That's not a time. That is a year. But the 25-year-old was picked for the AL All-Star team in his first season as a starter. So there is obviously something there, okay? Crochet is eligible for arbitration this season, and unless he signs a long-term contract deal, can become a free agent after the 2026 World Series. So let's hope, for the Red Sox sakes, that they can get a deal done before then. Otherwise, they'll be back in this situation, dipping into their farm system in order to get another ace. But this wasn't the first time that an ace from the White Sox was traded to the Red Sox. Can you remember when the last time was? Let's go down memory lane, shall we? It was December 6th, 2016. Yep, that was 8 years ago when the White Sox traded Chris Sale to the Red Sox for Yoan Moncada, Michael Kopech, Luis Alexander Basabe, And Victor Diaz, it turned out to be a colossal bust for the White Sox, with Sale helping the Red Sox win the 2018 World Series, and none of the prospects ever became a starter for the White Sox. But let's not get it twisted. The Red Sox were not the only team involved in this discussion for Crochet services. The White Sox had extensive trade talks with the Phillies in the summer and again after the offseason, but declined the Phillies' offer of third baseman Alec Baum and prized outfielder prospect Justin Crawford. They had talks with the Los Angeles Dodgers, but those stopped when the Dodgers signed free agent starter Blake Snell. The rich get richer there. Yeah. The New York Yankees had interest until they signed Max Fried. The Baltimore Orioles were never willing to offer anywhere near the prospect package that the White Sox desired, and the White Sox never considered trading Crochet to the crosstown rival Chicago Cubs. The Red Sox were in the bidding for free agent starter Max Fried, like I said, before he signed his $218 million bag with the Yankees. Now, instead of reaching for their wallets, they reached deep into their farm system to lure Crochet, considered the top prize trade chip of the winter meetings. So this is going to be interesting to see how this develops, especially what the Braves end up doing after losing out on Max Fried. I read reports that, they didn't offer anything even close to what the Yankees did. So the Braves, they're going to have to be on the move here pretty soon to shore up that pitching staff for sure. And they're going to need to add some more depth to their outfielders. So we're going to see how this ultimately plays out. So let's go ahead and get into some of the Heisman talk that has been blowing up all of social media. Hell, if you actually went to Hot Zone Sports on Facebook, you would actually see I made a post the other day, actually yesterday, and who deserves to win the Heisman more? So I'm not going to call out who these comments are from, but I'm just going to name off a couple of them. This guy says, Jeanty, he's a great ball player playing both ways. Isn't anything cool used to happen all the time, and Jeanty has great averages every game, so without a doubt, he should win the Heisman. Next up, Hunter, because of his two-way tremendous play on both sides on offense and defense. And then another, Jeanty, hands down. Hunter didn't lead country in any defensive category and didn't lead country in receiving either. Plus, Colorado is not in the playoffs, and Boise State is. Then somebody else commented, whoever gets it will be cursed. So as we move into this conversation, I'm going to start everything off with something that I found interesting and something that you may not know. Here is a look at the schools with the most Heisman Trophy winners. USC has 8. Oklahoma has 7. The last time they had a Heisman winner was in 2018 with Kyler Murray. Ohio State, the last one they had was Troy Smith, quarterback, in 2006. Notre Dame, they have the same amount of 7. Oh my goodness. Their last Heisman winner was wide receiver Tim Brown in 1987. And then you have Alabama with 4. We know Bryce Young won it in 2021. And you got LSU, Florida State, Auburn, Florida, Nebraska, Michigan, and Army with 3 winners. And 2 winners, you have Texas A&M, Wisconsin, Texas, Miami, Florida, Georgia, Navy, and Yale. Now, I start off that by saying, back in the day, that this Heisman actually had some legitimacy to it. Okay, it was the best player in the land. Period. But as I have said many times on social media, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, I strictly go back to one thing. The Heisman lost its credibility with me when Melvin Gordon didn't win in 2014. Instead, it was awarded to Oregon quarterback Marcus Mariota. Gordon had 343 carries, 2,587 rushing yards, 29 touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns. This award now is a popularity contest. I mean, if you look at BetMGM as of Monday evening, they have Travis Hunter as the prohibitive favorite at minus 2,500, and it's obviously a two-man race. And then you got Ashton Jeanty from Boise State at plus 1,000. So people are saying it's not even close, and I just don't understand how it can't be close. Okay, I respect and understand what Travis Hunter has done for the Colorado Buffaloes, but it used to be if you weren't in the college football playoffs or the BCS or anything like that, then you weren't even considered. But now it's the point to where it's nothing but hype. Okay, and I just don't understand how it's not even a closer race. Like, what is Ashton Jeanty and his fourth best rushing numbers going to be like? That doesn't even matter. To me, the running back position is a lot tougher than wide receiver, and I understand he plays both positions. Travis Hunter does. But when you're not even in the discussion for the Jim Thorpe Award, which is awarded to the best defensive back in the country, when you are not even in that conversation, okay, you may play two positions, which, don't get me wrong, I respect that. But unless you are if he was in the Jim Thorpe discussion, then okay. I would understand why he has such a lead in the Heisman, but he doesn't. You know, he's not in that Jim Thorpe discussion as the best defensive back in the land. So it's hard for me to understand how Ashton Jeanty is not getting any respect whatsoever. I mean, he rushed for over 200 yards against the number one team in the nation, the Oregon Ducks. And let's go ahead and, since everybody wants to do this, we'll do it too. So if you want to go off a strength of schedule, the SOS, then you're really going to be disappointed, because if you say that Colorado played a better schedule, okay. They had the 71st best strength of schedule. What was Boise State at? They had the 78th best strength of schedule. So that discussion goes out the window. What it boils down to is just the fact that these two guys, Ashton Jeanty and Travis Hunter, they're going to be the top two vote getters when it comes to the Heisman. But the bottom line is the fact that, this Heisman has lost its credibility, and it's more of a popularity contest at this point. But as it stands, Hunter would be just the second defensive player to win the award in its history, after Michigan defensive back Charles Woodson won it back in 1997. But Hunter would also be the first full-time offensive player. Woodson dabbled in offense, and he was a dangerous kick returner, but his primary position was covering receivers and tackling runners. But if he gets the award, as I expect, Hunter will be the most versatile Heisman winner since Paul Hornung in 1956. But let's look at it from both sides. Hunter is truly elite at two different things. Hunter is considered one of the top cornerback prospects in the 2025 NFL draft, along with Michigan's Will Johnson. He is also second in the nation in touchdown catches with 14, and in the top 6 in receptions and receiving yards. He has said he wants to play offense and defense in the NFL too. I just do not see how a team is going to let him have, over 120 snaps a game. But also, on the other side of the fence, you would be foolish not to let him try. But as for Jeanty, he's trying to become the first Heisman winner from a non-power conference since Ty Detmer of the BYU Cougars in the year 1990. He's putting up numbers that have conjured memories of Barry Sanders' epic 1988 Heisman season, perhaps the finest individual season a running back has ever had. And at this point, Jeanty's 344 carries exactly equals Sanders' total that year. Sanders was more productive in those 344 carries, though. But, you know, that dude is the GOAT when it comes to running backs. In those 344 carries, he had 2,628 rushing yards, and Jeanty has 2,497. So that is about 131 yards less. But he has 37 rushing touchdowns to Jeanty's 29. But Jeanty has at least one more game to go and could eclipse Sanders' single-season FBS record. You know, asterisk. That's what they say online. But the most remarkable part of Jeanty's season is that he chose to stay at Boise State. I've said this many times. He could have easily jumped into the portal and gone to Ohio State. He could have gone to a high-caliber team. He could have gone to Penn State or Oregon, for that matter. He could have commanded huge money in the transfer portal, but opted to stay where he had been recruited out of high school. The Boise State program has risen out of this obscurity in the 21st century to challenge the power elite, producing a number of great players along the way. But no Bronco in that time has had quite the season that he has. But to think that he is 131 rushing yards away from the all-time FBS rushing record set by Barry Sanders and isn't even close to being a favorite on this Heisman list, like, it just blows my mind. Like, I understand there's a lot of hype around Travis Hunter, but there's should be the same hype around Ashton Jeanty. He is going to be the first running back taken off the board, and he is 131 yards away from breaking the all-time FBS record. Like, what has to give here? But that is going to be it for the bird. Hey, before you leave, give this video a thumbs up. Can you do that? Would you do that, YouTubers? It really helps us pop in a big way. Everything here is free. That's all we ask of you. Leave a comment below. Let's get some interactions going. I will respond to every comment, whether it's a question, a concern, or if you want me to do something else on the next podcast. Maybe you want me to talk about the Steelers, or maybe you want me to talk about the Army-Navy game, which I will be talking about on Monday. But drop us that 5-star rating and review. It does help us out tremendously, whether you realize it or not. So thank you guys for doing that. I really appreciate it. Also follow us on all your social media platforms at Hot Zone Sports and join the sports pages that is meant for you, because this is truly why we do this, for the people. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, click that notification button, and have a blessed weekend. We will see you on Monday. Peace.